Today marks Remembrance Sunday. We are all gathered here today to help remember the 498 men of the 448 bomb group who did pay the ultimate sacrifice in the fight for freedom. As we all know today, their death was not in vain, as we enjoy the freedoms, albeit slightly restricted at the moment, but we enjoy the freedoms to do as we please today. Before we do the wreath laying and everything else, I'll pass you over to Anne Margaret to read a piece about one of the people she's remembering today.
I didn't quite know what to do, and I wanted to find a crew that died sometime in November. So I will begin. My granddad served in the First World War. One was in the Royal Engineers, and the other one was at first in the Norfolk Regiment, and then transferred to a London regiment, from where he was seconded to the staff of General Lord Allenby. When the Second World War began, they both joined the local Home Guard units. My dad was called up and served as ground crew in the Royal Air Force. He saw service in the North African and Italian campaigns. My mum served as a WAF in the barrage balloon section on various sites in London. In fact, she discovered many years later that one of the sites was just opposite where our Tony Jekylls, who many of us do remember, lived. After the need for barrage balloons, she remustered and became a fitter working with Spitfires. When they were both demobbed, they became lifelong members of the Royal British Legion and the Royal Air Force Association. I tried to count how many remembrance parades I have attended. As a small child with other children, we were rounded up in one area and some kind person looked after us while our various parents were on display. As we children grew up, we started to question as to why and what they were doing. The reply often was, "Oh, you're too young to understand." But we started to listen to the stories of the veterans which they were telling. Some funny, some sad, and some just naughty. But our parents' example, we understood what remembrance meant to them and to us. I always remember the long list of names of those people who had given their lives in the service of their country, and I wondered who they were and what they did. It was not until I attended a memorial service last year at which a lady, and not a man, stood up to speak. As she began, she told of two men who had died in the service of their country and explained a little bit more about them. I still remember what she had said. Most importantly to me, they became real people who had a family, a mum, a dad, brothers and sisters, of whom they would never ever see their loved ones again. When James said in his email that he was inviting anyone to speak, I thought, hang on, there's my chance to remember 10 men from 715 Squadron who lost their lives in the service of their country, being stationed here at Seething. So for just a few moments, will you let your thoughts dwell on these 10 people? These 10 men are the crew of a B-24 number 4250820. Pilot Officer First Lieutenant Frank Rector Garlensky, Co-Pilot Second Lieutenant Albert Andrew Pembeck, Navigator Second Lieutenant Walter Allen Ford, Bombardier Second Lieutenant Ralph Francis O'Neill, Top Turret Technical Sergeant Paul Javinsky, Radio Operator Technical Sergeant James W. McLaughlin, Right Waist Senior Sergeant Joseph A. Yates, Left Waist Senior Sergeant Lewis E. McCowan, Tail Turret Senior Sergeant Albert P. Cole, and finally, Nose Turret First Lieutenant Alton K. Kraft. The mission for the fateful night was Minden, Germany, and on the way out their aircraft received a flak hit in number 2 engine, which burnt out for a while but then went out. The aircraft lost height and peeled off under control and headed back to England, as witnessed by several other aircraft. The aircraft crashed near the road to Billebeck. All 10 crew were killed, and Ralph and Albert were the only 2 identified. These 2 were buried in separate graves in the community cemetery in Bilderbeck, Germany, while the others were buried together. 3 months later, Lewis McEwen's mother inquired as to the status of her son. Had it changed? No, he was still MIA, as the others were, except Ralph and Albert, who were classed as KIA. In 1949, Ralph's body was repatriated back to the USA, and he was interred in Blue Hill Cemetery, Braintree, Massachusetts. It was not until 1950 that the other 9 crew members were repatriated and interned all together in the Rock Island National Cemetery, Illinois. However, this story has a twist. In an official report, I counted that 10 caskets were interned, but we already knew that one of the 10 had already been laid to rest. It turned out the 10th name was that of Harold Ryle. His body had been found near where the B-24 had crashed, and the local people took him to be part of the crew that buried him. This mystery was solved around 2009 by a Dutch aviation historian. Harold was the tail gunner of a B-17 of the 306 bomb group. Oh yes, just one last thing. 9 of our crew were finally laid to rest in the Rock Island Cemetery on the 3rd of November 1950. They originally crashed on the 6th of November 1944. They were buried in the Bilderbeck Cemetery precisely 76 years today on the 8th of November 1944. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we that are left grow old, age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Well done.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. It's been a most lovely and